rumors are hot around the Vikings trading up in this year's NFL draft to go get a quarterback. Welcome into Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be diving into the latest talk around the Vikings possibly trading up into the top 5 to go get a guy like McCarthy or Drake Maye. Those are the two main quarterbacks that I have seen linked to Minnesota so far. And in those three spots, I think the 3rd overall pick, 4th overall pick, and 5th overall pick are most likely for Minnesota to trade up into that spot. Since the Giants do have the 6th overall pick in this year's draft, I think the Vikes would want to jump them to ensure that they do get their guy. But if you guys look up any mock draft right now, it most likely will have Minnesota trading into the top 5, whether it's with the Patriots, Cardinals, or Chargers, and landing either McCarthy or Drake Maye. We'll be diving into all that and more on today's show. But I want to kind of get the pulse of the fan base a little bit before we get started here. Do you guys want the Vikings to trade up for a quarterback? If you do, just like today's video. And if you don't, explain to me why down in the comments section, because I actually think it's a little bit more 50-50 than I would have thought. I would have thought everybody would have been open to trading up for a quarterback, but a lot of people don't want to give up that future draft capital. So if you guys want to draft a quarterback and trade up for him, like today's show. And if not, just explain to me down below in the comments section. So I do believe the NFL draft is going to go in this order. I believe it's going to be Caleb Williams going to Chicago Bears no matter what. They are locked into that number 1 overall pick. I don't think they are moving off it. And then I do think the Washington Commanders at number 2 overall, I think they're going to go with Jaden Daniels. And, I think, and the main reason why I do think they are going Daniels is because they brought in Marcus Mariota in this free agency period in the NFL. And I think when you want to have a backup quarterback for a young QB, you want to have them have, similar play styles. So they went the kind of more dual threat mobile guy in Mariota, who also did win a Heisman. And he was also kind of, very similar to Daniels coming out of college. So I think that makes kind of, I'm not saying it's locking that in for them to take Daniels, but that's just kind of what I'm assuming. And then that gets me to number 3 overall here with the New England Patriots. And this is where it gets interesting because we got a report yesterday from Josina Anderson that says the Patriots, after losing out on Calvin Ridley, are all in on getting a receiver in this year's draft class. Well, maybe that means they want to either take Marvin Harrison at that pick, but then I thought, what if they want to trade back from that pick and still get a pick in the top 11, like the Vikings could be able to offer them, but then you also get a ton of future draft capital as well. So I think the Patriots are more likely to trade out of that spot than people think. I don't think they're necessarily all in on getting a quarterback right now. I think they're going to want to go the route where they get a more complete roster around a guy, kind of go that San Francisco 49ers route, and then go that direction. So where does that leave the Minnesota Vikings? I think you have a choice between Drake Maye or Jaden Daniels. We did hear a report from a Patriots beat reporter that came out that said if Drake Maye does fall in this year's NFL draft, expect the Vikings to call them and offer a haul to trade up. And I think if I had to call it right now, I think obviously Williams and Daniels, Vikings are out on them. I don't necessarily think the Vikings are too in love with Michael Penix and Bo Nix. I think it's JJ or Drake Maye. Just going to come down to see whatever one the Vikings would want. And then also the Cardinals at 4. I could see them wanting to trade out of that. If the Patriots, let's just say, do take Marvin Harrison at that 3 spot, and then the Cardinals are sitting there saying, we like Neighbors, we like Rome Odunze, we like Brock Bowers, but if a team's willing to trade up, we'll obviously move off that pick. So Cardinals are an option. And then also the Chargers. I think the Chargers, let's just say, I do think they're, want to get a receiver and another weapon for Herbert. But, if you offer them a good enough deal, they would definitely be willing to move up there. But let's break down McCarthy or Drake Maye here to kind of close out today's show, because I think it's one of those two in Minnesota. And I think they're honestly, they're similar but different prospects in a way. So I think McCarthy, let's just start off with him. You guys know I'm a big fan of him. You guys know I really believe in him. I think he's the 2nd best quarterback in this year's class. And I know when I say that, sirens are going off in people's heads. How could McCarthy be the 2nd best quarterback in this year's draft class? I really do believe it, mainly for a multiple of reasons. I think number 1, I think it's the unknown factor of that intrigues me so much, because what offense he was running at Michigan last season and the last 2 seasons, frankly, didn't really it didn't really show off, I think, his full skill set. I think it showed off little parts of it. I think it showed off he had an ability to get the ball out on time and accurately to receivers at a pretty consistent level, which he's shown the ability to do. It also shown him great in the play action game. You know, J.J. McCarthy running these boots, running these nakeds. Like, he was great. They were great at that. Sorry, we're getting actually a report here. It says the Falcons' offer to QB Kirk Cousins exceeded how far the Vikings were willing to go. This is actually breaking news here, live on a video from Diana Rossini. The Vikings made Kirk Cousins an offer, but it wasn't enough. Very interesting right there. It's a little tidbit. I literally just got that notification on my phone. I saw Vikings, Kirk Cousins, and an offer, so I had to get that in there. So it turns out the Vikings made an offer to Kirk. Atlanta just obviously made a better one. Kind of assumed that either way. But let's get back on track here. Talking about J.J. McCarthy. I really do believe he is the second best quarterback in this year's class. And, you know, obviously right now, purely right now as a thrower, I think, honestly, he's probably not even in the top 5 of this year's draft class. But I think with a guy like that, you're projecting on what he's going to become. He is in his junior year of college. He is a true junior, and he just turned 21 years old. Drake Maye is a class above him. Jaden Daniels is 3 classes above him. A guy like Bo Nix and Penix are 3 and 4 classes above him as well. So you're kind of banking on JJ. What he will be in 2 to 3 years would be better than those guys coming out. I'm a believer in him. I think he's great in front of the mic. I think he's going to be great at the whiteboard. We heard Peter Schrager say that as well. And yes, maybe he doesn't have the most complete arm as a guy like Drake Maye does, because Drake Maye is a guy where it's like, any throw you ask him to make, if he's got time, he can make it, man. Like, he can layer the football really well. He's got a whip of an arm. I think he's honestly an underrated athlete as well. But speaking about being an athlete, like, you guys go watch some of these Michigan games from last year. I really do believe JJ is the second best athlete in this quarterback class. I think obviously it's Jaden Daniels. He's got that unreal, dual threat Heisman ability that we all know about. But man, you look at JJ, they asked him to run a decent amount of read options last year, and the amount of times that Michigan would run, a boot, a naked route or like whatever it would be, and JJ would have to clear the other team's defensive end. Like, he's shown that ability to get outside the pocket, make plays with his feet, and he actually has the highest completion percentage out of all quarterbacks in this year's class on scrambles. So, this whole notion that he's a, typical game manager, he can only make the throws they ask him to do, I just completely disagree. You just didn't watch enough JJ, throughout the past couple of years. But, getting back to Drake Maye now, because I do believe, even though I personally, if I was Minnesota, I would go trade up for, J.J. McCarthy. That would be my guy that I would go get. But we've heard countless reports that Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi are obsessed with this guy, Drake Maye. And I love Drake Maye. Like, if the Vikings ended up draft night and they got Drake Maye, I mean, we're probably throwing a party here on the channel and we're going live and we're having a ton of fun. But, Drake Maye is one of those guys where it's like, I think the Vikings would offer him a perfect landing spot, because you do have, obviously, Kevin O'Connell, young offensive-minded head coach that he could kind of sandpaper and groom his game. You're giving him elite weapons in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and also a stable run game his rookie year in Aaron Jones, 2 bookend tackles. Like, the Vikings are an ideal landing spot for one of these guys. And I think Drake Maye would also offer the Vikings, where I think he's more pro-ready right now than a guy like McCarthy. I think Drake Maye could honestly start week 1 for Minnesota. If, let's just say, you watch a couple Sam Darnold preseason games and it's just like, all right, he is the guy who we thought he was, then Vikings could just throw Drake Maye into the fire there. But I think it's either going to be Maye or McCarthy in Minnesota next season. I don't think they're going to sit there at 11 and take Penix or Nix. I just don't see that as a possibility. Maybe they sit there at 11 and they say, we need to get more talent on defense and we'll go draft a corner like Nate Wiggins, and then maybe we'll take a chance on the quarterback, maybe in the 2nd and 3rd round like a Rattler. But I fully do expect the Vikings to trade up in this year's draft class to either 3, 4, 5, or maybe if the Giants are willing to offer that 6th overall pick as well. But that's kind of the latest news and rumors around the Vikings trading up. There's all types of reports, all types of mock drafts that suggest them trading up in this year's class. And if I think the NFL draft is going to go the way it's going to go, where it's Williams going 1, Daniels going 2, think McCarthy or Maye will end up in Minnesota next season. But make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel, because if the Vikings do trade up for one of those picks, we will be going live here and we'll be breaking it down in depth. But thank you guys so much for watching today's show. Latest kind of rumors roundup around the Vikings trading up. See you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.